most people know that the best kind of living happens when there is peace. You know, let me tell you something. I have this secret longing. No, it's not really very secret because I've mentioned it elsewhere. For women to take over and say, men, we gave you all of this time. You've made a heck of things. You've made a mess of things. We're not taking over. And women who would be feminine, not women who try to be like men. Women who are feminine, women who remember that they are life nurturers. And I am absolutely certain we would see a different world order.
So what we truly need to step into a new paradigm of wellness is for the true leaders of this planet, to step up, consult, sit down and gather with the shaman, the healers, the practitioners, the spiritual elders, sit down and create a new system.
There must be no war between the faith of Christianity and the faith of Islam. These two great faiths are both based on love and man's search for God. Why should there be a war in the name of God? It's the ultimate blasphemy.
Think of everyone that you send to war as your own child. How would you feel if you got the message, someone knocked on your door and said, well, your child has passed? They're sending thousands and thousands of men. That's someone's dad. That's someone's brother. That's someone's son. That's someone's daughter.
I believe that there's an old paradigm that comes from an old fear-based mentality that my generation, doesn't resonate with us anymore. And even the younger people, there's so much more of that global thought form again. We don't have the same prejudice. We don't have the same separateness that keeps us at war, that keeps us in a state of, unconsciousness.
Take time to see behind the masks that you've put in front of yourselves, to realize your true self, that you've been blinded to the truth. You don't even know who you are anymore. To take time to find out who you are, and then from that deep place, you'll be able to act in conscience, and in truth, and in wisdom.
A truth's initial commotion is directly proportional to how deeply the lie was believed. When a well-packaged and managed web of lies has been sold gradually to the masses over a prolonged period of time, the truth will seem utterly preposterous and the speaker a raving lunatic.
You think you are so superior to everyone else, but you're actually just expressing your own minute level of limitation and your own extraordinary level of insecurity. Because people who are secure do not need to have power and control over others. Insecure people need that because they don't have the security of being able to ad-lib life. And so the world that you've created is a reflection of you. And in the end, you're going to have to face that. And you can do it now, or you can do it further along the road. But cause and effect in this reality is a fact. And what you've caused, you will take the effect of.
It's the people who run the great corporations on this planet. And that, you could probably trace that back to a very few families, because a very few families have a finger in the greatest pies and can interact with one another on that. And they know who they are. I mean, everything that happens on this planet has a kickback in monetary terms to those very few leaders in the corporate business world. And they need to change their act, otherwise there isn't going to be a humanity to feed them what they take out of us. Because nobody needs to have the millions and millions and millions that they hold. There needs to be some way of taking all that money off them and redistributing it so that there's an equality in the world. They can still have some money, but they don't need the trillions and trillions that they have. And they certainly don't need to keep taxing and reducing everybody on the planet to penury, which is what they're doing at present.
The leaders of the world who have money, money has been around for so long. It hasn't made a difference. It hasn't ended the wars. It hasn't stopped AIDS. Because wars and diseases are money-making ventures for some people. You, the leaders of the world, help us end the wars, end the diseases. The people that need that help don't live in corporate rooms. Those people live in rural villages. Those people live in slums. Those people live in places where you've never been. Go to those places. Learn from those people. Every human being wants to be able to take charge of their life. We recognize we are the hope we are looking for. You, the leaders, are not the hope. We, the people, are the hope we are looking for. Work with us to be that hope.
Your time is running out. And you need to assist the people into a new vision of the future, not containing it in the way it has been in the past. Because if you do not do this for the people will take the reins. And the structure that you have created will be torn down.
Talk to each other. Just talk to each other. Get beyond the fighting. Get beyond the blame. We are all one. When you fight another, you fight yourself. It's time to get beyond the fighting and time to get to real reconciliation. Listen to each other and talk to each other. That's what I would say to the leaders today.
What I would say to them is to stop, even for a moment in the day, in a silent place, in a dark place, And to be dark, you only need to close your eyes and stop and listen to your heartbeat and make room for the spirit. Okay? And by that I mean, don't pray to who you think God is, and don't make room for a preconceived notion. Do it in silence, in a humble way. Open yourself, you know, and listen to the manifestations of Creator. Listen to the wind. Listen to the water. Feel the warmth of the sun and touch Mother Earth, even for a moment, because that's the first step.
Reconnect to some kind of spiritual practice, because I feel that they're dissociated from feelings. And in order to live in this lifetime, you have to be able to feel. And when you feel, you can remember your next door neighbor, you can remember your brother, you can remember everyone as brothers and sisters. But when you can't feel, then you just keep everyone away from you. And I think that we just have to remember in this lifetime we're humans and we need to feel, because then we'll remember. Then we'll wake up. Because too many sleepwalkers in this lifetime that are in really powerful positions, but they need to wake up now.
It is all right for you to be in those positions, but we simply allow for Spirit to be a part of your journey. Understanding that we are here all with a special gifting. Understand that we must look to bring forth and manifest what is going to be good, not for an individual, but good for this, the Mother Earth. If you continue in this way, you slowly are killing this, the Mother Earth. And if you wish to survive as a people, as a two-leggeds, she is the one that you must ultimately prioritize in all of decisions of world. Listen to your hearts and listen to this, the Mother Earth.
Be respectful of the Earth's gifts, because they're only here for us to survive on. But if we only look at it as to make money from, it's going to be gone in no time. And what is our future going to come into? Because as the world, we're constantly growing. How are our future children are supposed to exist if there's no water, which is our basic existence, which we're all made out of?
The very first step on the spiritual path is to be 100% responsible for the impact of your behavior upon another. And once you absorb and integrate that principle, how can you possibly harm another being, or the water, or the earth, or the trees, or the forests? How can you? Have you stopped to think about the selfishness of that act?
This life is not about me, it's about we. It's about our connection. And the funny thing is that we want peace and we want happiness. And the very simple way to peace and happiness is through experiencing directly our interconnection.
Remember your own integrity. Live the golden rule, not just on a personal level, but as a leader. The world is looking to you. We are in incredible times. We look to leaders on every level to show us the way forward, not the way backward, not the retreat into fear, but to lead this leap into love.
Get out of the mind and come back to your heart. Come back to remembering Mother Earth. Come back to remembering the future generations. And just surrender. You want to surrender to this higher power that's coming in now. And make that communication with each other grander than you ever have before.
Honor the pledge that you have given to your people. They have elected you to do that which is good for all people, not only for the small vested interests. And to the industrialists, I will say, invest your energies in the new science that will minimize pollution and destruction in our world, because you yourselves also live in this world.
The governments are getting their advice about the medical condition of people largely from representatives from the pharmaceutical industry, rather than from scientists who are independent, rather than us general practitioners are never heard by government. You know, we are the people, we are the physicians that are right up front and see what people are really suffering with and what the real conditions are. But we have the government makes no attempt to connect with us, to hear what is actually going on the base. They get the information from representatives from the pharmaceutical industry. I could say from the devil itself.
It's important that we understand whatever institutions we have set up, whatever systems that we are serving right now, all these things were created only for human well-being. Without forgetting this, if they dispense their responsibilities, it should be fine. But I think overwhelmed by the positions that they hold and compelled by the systems that they serve, many times people are forgetting that all this was created for human well-being and working against the well-being of the humanity and the life around us.
Corporate and political leaders perhaps could learn about the meaning of politics. Politics comes from the Greek sense of the body polis. A beehive, for example, has a body polis when it evolves so much charge that it starts to make a pole that emerges as an electric field, and then it's about to swarm. So in that political body, how you pass a law is you radiate an emotion. And that emotion is an electric field, which is now a new law, a symmetry law of that hive. So instead of putting a hot dog stand in the middle of the Pentagon, which is perfectly aligned with the dodecafractal of Earth, the stellation fits, it's embeddable, you put actually someone who is radiating pure intention. What is pure intention for a political leader? That's the deep ability to feel the pain of everyone you lead.
I would just ask them to open their minds a bit, to consider things in a bit grander scope than how much profit can be made in this quarter and the next year, that there's more going on here than just that.
The only systems that will be workable for us are ones of sustainability, ones that honor each and everybody on this planet. And we truly look to the future to be all that we can be.
Not go continually extracting minerals out of the ground, turning them into stuff, shipping them around the world, having them in our hands for a few minutes, and then chucking them back into landfill. That is a system of life that cannot go on for much longer. It really has its limits. We have to find new ways of living that actually enable life to continue for thousands of years and not for decades or handfuls of years in the model and system that we have now. Change is going to come. The only question is how far we're able to embrace that change and transition into a way of living which will actually sustain life on the planet and actually could be a happier and healthier life at the same time. That's the question, is how are we going to be happy and fulfilled for all of the people on the planet? That's the question that we have to face and that really is in denial we're not facing up to.
You have a mopping up job to do that involves telling truth, speaking truth, taking responsibility for the longer term.
We have to stop the destruction. That's it, on every level.
This is definitely a time not to be in their heads. This is a time to do what is right, to follow what the heart knows is right. And if they make the laws according to the heart of what is best for people, not for corporations and money and governments, we would be in a world that's so easy and healthy and which would enable people to have the time and everything to be able to learn about the heart and what it is and to go into higher levels of awareness. It would assist the change.
children of this Mother Earth, I must first, on behalf of Spirit, ask you for forgiveness. In our journeys, we have put so much thought in what we must do to bring forth positive changes in world. As a result, we forgot about you, the children. And in my heart, I cry because I walked right by you. I was so caught up in speaking to the masses that I didn't see you standing in the back, and you were watching me, and you were in awe. I thank you because you, in that response, affirmed that Spirit was watching and caring for me. But why did I not walk over to you and say thank you? Why did I not go over there and tell you that I am happy that you're there?
It's not how much money we have. It's not how many cars we can acquire or how much equipment we can have in our personal warehouse. It's more like how many people we can include in our circle and call brothers and sisters. And the more people we can include in that circle as brothers and sisters, the bigger the circle will be. Because those people will include other people in the brothers and sisters circle. And through the love of each other, we can change the planet.
Know that the air is the air of life, that the water is the water of life, and that we are children of the earth. We belong to the earth. The earth does not belong to us. So together with all of our relations and our relatives, the birds, the bugs, the bees, the horses, the dogs, the fish, the dolphins, and all the birds in the sky, we can be one. And they all love you, and you should all love them. And I repeat, as an indigenous person and a person from the city, I love you, no matter who you are, and if I've not seen you or whether I haven't seen you, because we come from the same Mother Earth, from the same Father, Son, and from the same Creator.
Normal was never very compelling to me. I think most children, most teenagers, have this sense that the world offered to me as normal isn't really normal. It's not good enough. It's not supposed to be like this. Life is supposed to be more joyous, more authentic, you know. And I had that feeling very strongly, and I just never could really buy in to normal. And sure, there are messages all around me that said, oh no, this is the way it's supposed to be. You get good grades and you'll get a good job, and that's what life is. But I didn't believe it.
If I were speaking to the children, I would say, you can do anything. Anything. Don't let anyone tell you anything different. You can do anything, and you know things that none of the grown-ups know. You have secrets that nobody else knows about, special ways of doing things, and they're right, and they're true, and they're correct. And when you grow up, you're going to know exactly how to do things that make the world the right kind of place.
Just because your parents aren't what you want them to be, just because your situation isn't what you'd like it to be, just because you came into this situation that you don't like, doesn't mean that you can't change it. And also, why did you come into this situation? Did someone force you into that body and say, you're going down there, get in there? Or did you choose to come? Of course you chose to come. Why did you choose to come? Why did you choose to experience that situation that you're in? Because some of the worst situations, and you know, I've been there a few times, can lead to a much greater awareness of so much because of the experience. But you can only do that if you realize it's an experience which you can use on the way to greater understanding, rather than that experience being you.
Don't believe that you have to be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. Life is eternal. We get to do this for as many times as we want, and eventually we're going to get it right. Have fun, and don't forget to laugh, and make lots of time to play, because in the play you're going to find answers.
I would say, kids, learn enough about the science of your own biology to recognize how powerful you are. Learn how that when you take care of your body and you actually become blissful, that you create an electric field called your emotion that affects your whole world. And that if you take responsibility, if you take interest in your emotions, your coherent emotion, your emotional body, the charge you make when you feel that you're radiating a flower, a blossom, that you come into the room and somebody had an argument, if you hold a feeling in your heart, you can feel the whole room melt, and you didn't need to say anything. So kids, even if the adults don't let you speak, if you learn to be mature with your own emotions, you will become the adult, and you will take the inheritance of the kingdom.
Let's not forget, you're going to be the grandparents of the future. And when we're dead and gone, it will be down to you to be the custodians of this land and your children and their children. But always remember, we're only here for a very short time, and it is incumbent on us all to look after the place while we're here.
You are the future. You are taking us on to a whole new way of experiencing what it means to be human. This is an amazing time to be alive. You've chosen this time. Look to the role models that inspire you rather than deny you that possibility. And you'll find over these coming years that there'll be more and more like-minded and even more importantly like-hearted people to walk this journey, this exciting journey, this wonderful adventure with you.
They just have to look and observe and make their own observations and really begin to trust themselves and believe in themselves, because they are the future of this world. And what's about to happen is not something that is going to be against them. It will be for them. And so again, it's not a time to go and be afraid of the changes that are coming or anything else. It's a time to be happy and to really begin to realize the power that lies within them.
Our children are not the same as we are. We were not the same as our parents were, and our parents were not the same as their grandparents. Each of us has had something different to do. So when we look at our children and say, don't play so many video games, don't spend so much time on the computer, don't do this, don't do that, it's important for us to understand that our children are children of the internet age, and that there are skills and communication that is important to them and things that they have to get. It's also important that we keep that in balance and we get them outside. It's important that we understand that they have to have a connection to the sacred earth that is a personalized, experiential connection.
I see many children born coming into physicality at the moment that are way beyond us, way beyond our comprehension. And I often see them a little lost, a little frightened of what they engage here now. I would like to encourage them and tell them, remember who you are. Don't forget. Don't let go of your light. Hold your light in the presence and trust and be the joy you are and show us.
If we don't give our children their own experience in nature, then our environmentalists will think of nature from their briefcase rather than their heart in the future, which is a very powerful, powerful statement. So we have to look at our children and understand they receive things on a clearer channel than we do. They hear different frequencies than we do. They are aware of different things on the earth than we are. And our job is to give them our history without taking their future.
I ask you to open your ears, to open your hearts and your minds, to listen to the few people who are around. And they can really help to direct ourselves and to give new hopes and new visions that can create new possibilities, new potential in our hearts, in our skills. There's new skills out there. There's so many new skills. I can see it all around in the kids and in the grown-ups that open themselves up and they try to be kids again and to change every day. No point to sitting around and moaning and getting stuck in the old stuff. We need to just tear it off like old clothes and throw it away and get out there and really look for the beautiful projects, the beautiful people, the beautiful humanity that's out there, because they're all around. We just got to open the eyes, and you will find it. And you're just wonderful, so you're going to find it. I'm sure you will.
If ever I'm confused about something, I just ask myself, what's for the best? And I see how it feels here in my heart. Don't lose that heartfelt connection. Just tap in sometimes lightly when something doesn't feel right, and ask yourself, does that feel, how does that feel from the heartfelt space?
The animal kingdom always has a lot to teach us. And it's very sad how we now treat our animals, the suffering that goes on by our consuming of meat products, the way that animals are treated in captivity. There is a deep, deep pain connected to the earth that comes from these animals that we have forgotten how to really be with. Our greed has taken over some of that, and we have forgotten how to connect with the spirit of the animal. We've forgotten how to really connect with the earth and what she is giving to us from the plant world. The animals that are living today are very much dead before they have died. They are not living a healthy life. We have forgotten the sacredness of the animal kingdom and of the plant kingdom. We pollute it. We have very little respect for it. This is a time now where these things will need to change for us to become more whole in ourselves, to find new values that will affect the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom as well as the human kingdom.
Go out and play every day. Play on the earth and look at the animals and talk to the flowers and smell the air and listen, because the trees have something to tell you, and they'll be your best teachers. They have something to tell you, and you know their language.
The youth of today know there's something drastically wrong going on. They're not stupid. How do you think they're going to react to some system that they know is done? I remember when I was 14, I knew the system was done then. I was confused as can be, wondering how on earth am I going to assimilate into this world that I had nothing to do with creating, and it didn't seem just, it wasn't right, it certainly didn't seem intelligent, and certainly wasn't intelligible.
You're faced with the wonderful and horrible choice of having to create a life in the midst of a destruction of a culture. And as the world is in chaos, and will continue in chaos until a new order arises, you are faced with how do you create a life in that? And I would say to you that you have the power to do this, otherwise you wouldn't be here. And I say, I bow to you for your spiritual courage to be here at this time.
So I say to the children of the world, wake up and learn that within you lies the pool of wisdom and knowledge, and not only in the books of the world. The books are very useful to give us material on which to concentrate our minds. Nevertheless, the real learning comes from the experiential journey that we live each moment in our lives. And so I think that, as I said, educators have an important role to play to inspire the children of our world with a greater purposefulness.
They know in their hearts, they know that there's more than what there is here. And so, and they know exactly what it is. They just have to go in there and trust themselves enough to be able to live that and make it real. You know, yeah, you can can float, you can fly, you can do a lot of things. You can manifest stuff out of nothing right in front of you. And this is a very real world. And they're going to have to leave the world of their parents, the world that says that it's fixed and solid and nothing can change, into a world of light and sound and color and beauty.
First of all, they're very psychic, and often, therefore, they're extremely sensitive. So, and that means they can sense many things beyond what, let's say, normal people sense. And that can be very overwhelming and scary. They see a lot of negative energy forms. They see a lot of people not being in their bodies with sicknesses, pain, suffering. It is very hard for them to digest that. And in that way, I really love to be there for the children.
Even if you're feeling dark and hopeless, if you are truly connected to spirit and you know what is good and what is true, you will be safe and you will be saved and you will be turned around. Intend it and ask for it. And when you intend it and ask for it, you'll be amazed what comes to you. It'll just come to you. You'll turn around a corner or you pick up a book or you go to some event and there will be somebody who'll say, hey, guess what I found?
They can change the world we live in, make it a better place to live and leave it better than when they found it, through education, through a higher level of education, because intelligence is the greatest weapon of all. Through this intelligence, we elevate to a higher level of consciousness, spirituality, divine unconditional love.
I had a very radical father who gave me books when I was a teenager that made it impossible for me to buy into normal reality. Silent Spring I read when I was 13. A People's History of the United States, 1984, Gulag Archipelago. I mean, I was reading things that kind of punctured the standard reality then. But there was something else too. I was just a strange kid. And I think a lot of, quote, strange kids are coming onto Earth right now.
I want to just really commend the children that are coming into the world right now. These are the strongest souls that we have. These are what our elders have called the old ones, the ancient ones, that are coming back in. They are, of course, going to come into a world that looks like it's collapsing because it has to collapse. And that everything that they have been taught by those that are their elders is not going to work, and it's going to go fast. But this is like a huge opportunity that they've come in with to recreate this planet like at no other time. And so it's to tell them that there are resources for them. There are those of us that will support them in teaching us how to move through this time, because they do have the seed. They are called the violet ray, the ones coming in now. They're a different octave altogether. And we have to really, really listen to how that they are moving so much in the moment and not in planning and in time frames. They have more of this holographic mind, and that we are really learning what that means from them. And it's an exchange. We have to help them just on the biological level of their human evolution. But they have a seed, a gift for us to know and to be willing to speak to us.
And it's important to allow, when the moment comes, when you have to step up to the plate and be these wise old ancient beings that you truly are, to embrace that. And of course you're going to have parents around you and older people around you, people in positions of authority trying to suppress you, trying to say that you're children that you don't really know, that you're not educated enough, you haven't been in this world long enough, and they're going to want to throw all this at you. What I say to you is, really trust what you get in here. Really trust what you get in here. And don't allow them to impose their fears and their insecurities and their synthetic authoritarian constructs over the top of you. Because we are all sovereign beings. We are truly infinite. We are truly eternal. And when we flow, and when we leave the paradigm of universal law, LAW, that authoritarian synthetic overlay construct, which is overlaid temporarily over the natural order of things, which is universal law, LORE, which is a natural organic unfoldment of life, then we are free sovereign beings. We are infinite. That means nothing is greater than what we are. Nothing can come in over the top of you. And we just act and behave and be and express in a natural and organic way, which is in synchronization and harmony and love and respect with everyone and everything around us. And that day is coming, and it's coming soon.
They may think we're judging them, but we're really the slower learners in the process, just because of our vibrational makeup that we were born into. And so we are trying to move with this new frequency, and we're cleansing and stuff, and they don't have to deal with that. You know, they're already in the frequency. So I think that that's a really key thing that they need to know, and that we're totally with them, and have support for them, and for them to call out for it, because they have communication abilities faster than we do. They'll get answers even swifter when they ask the question. Ask and you shall receive.
Now these kids that are coming in now understand this. They're here to teach us. They're our elders coming in to teach us how to access this new, which is ancient knowledge. So it's like we're being gently led to the realization of our innate capacity, that the invention of the radio was a signal saying that there are invisible waves that are traveling around us all of the time, that we can't see, we can't smell, we can't touch, but if we tune into the right frequency, we're able to hear it. Now that's true of our telepathic ability. The internet showed how all of this stuff can happen simultaneously. All of this knowledge can exist in a space, like a web, where this knowledge all exists simultaneously, and you just have to punch in the right keywords to be able to access that information.
The children of the world is obviously the future of our world, and there is no doubt that education plays a vital role in awakening the faculty of learning. And we must move a little bit away from turning the brains and minds of our children into just filing cabinets of information and just computer units, and acknowledge that they are living beings, and inspire them with a real purpose in life. When a child is inspired with a real purpose in life, then we'll let go of all his preoccupation with drugs, his preoccupation with destructive pursuits, and he will concentrate his energies in fulfilling that purpose, in fulfilling that goal. So the educators of our world must come together and search their hearts, their minds and souls, and devise a kind of education that truly offers an open-ended spiritual unfoldment, as well as material science and artistic education that integrates and synthesizes all aspects of our human life.
Youth means humanity in the making. They are not as conceited as the grown-up humanity, so there's still a possibility for them that they can create a new possibility in the world. But expecting the youth to do something miraculous when the older generation is unwilling to make any changes with themselves is an empty dream, because generally the nature of youth is, though they are high energy, they are also reactionary. So if the older generation doesn't show sense and inspiration towards a proper sensible living on this planet, I don't think the youth will do much. Youth will do worse than us. So it's extremely important, whatever your age, you youthfully go about and show them that you can make a difference.
Each one of you is an exquisite, never to be repeated, beautiful flower in this garden of life. And your only job in this life is to let yourself become what you are. And in becoming what you are, you will find that you give everything that you're here to give. And if you do that, you will die with a smile on your face when it comes time.
What I'd say to the next generation is listen to who and what you are, not anybody else. Because who and what you are is more powerful than everything you observe outside of yourself. And when you can use that power discreetly and comfortably and with love, you will change your perception and you will create your own world to exceed the world that you've been experiencing or the world you think you're experiencing to a world that you will like to enjoy.
The feelings that you have inside you that move you, that make you want to jump up and down, trust them. Trust them, because they are the intelligence that's driving you forward in your own heart and your imagination.
When you go within yourself, and I speak from experience because I learned everything from nature, and you observe how natural law works, how simple things are, always look for the simplicity of things, and you will take what would normally take a year to learn, you can learn it in a week. And it's very, very simple if you use that formula. Always go to nature and always go to your heart or to yourself and allow yourself to use love. Love yourself for changing. Love yourself for not listening to what you're told from outside, only what you feel from inside.
Dare to dream. What do you dream in this life? What could you imagine would be a beautiful thing? And whatever anyone tells you, keep on dreaming it. It's like a little flame. It's like a secret we'll keep. You have this little dream inside your heart, and you keep it burning. Every night you focus on this dream. What is it that you would love this world to be? What is it that you would love your life to be like? And just keep on feeling it inside your heart. And not saying, I want it, but just say thank you. So every single night as you go to sleep, imagine what would make you the most happy person in the whole world, and sit inside that dream and say thank you for it. Say thank you for it, and fall asleep in it every night.
Everyone gets a hand-crocheted, beautiful, multicolored joy nose, and we're initiated into Cosmic Clown Society, and henceforth we all walk through the world generating and spreading joy with everyone that we meet. Joy to the world, to all the boys and girls, joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea, joy to you and me.
As to the media, well, it's not only what they do show us, it's what they don't show us. My own feeling when I look at the news, I go, they're so completely controlled and suppressed, and there's so many things that they're not allowed to say. The focus is always on disaster, fear, blood, horror, terrible. Excuse me, what are you having us focus on? This is not reality. This is a made-up reality designed to put people into fear, to keep them down, to keep them scared, to control them. It's, those of us who know, we're not fooled one bit by it. And all your wars and your silly things that you're doing, we're not with you at all. So you're not fooling a lot of us. And I think a lot of people are starting to kind of wake up, They're going, wait a minute.
What I would say to journalists is your kids, indeed yourselves, because that's the timescale we're talking about, are going to have to live in the world that we are allowing to be created. And the people most targeted in this Orwellian world will be the people that inform the public, you. Therefore, you are building with your limitation of what you will communicate and the way that you will communicate it, i.e. anything outside the box is crazy. You are building your own prison and your children's prison. And one day they're going to say to you, Daddy, Mummy, what were you doing when the global fascist state came in? And what are you going to be able to say, honestly? I was helping them to do it, dear. A notebook, a microphone, a camera is completely neutral. It's what you do with it that matters. So you can create the prison or you can open the door. Your choice.
There has to be some tears, some feeling of being part of something that's being destroyed. That is us being destroyed. That's not, I live in my flat here and I've got what I want and I can watch wildlife on TV. No. When that forest goes and that language goes, that's our whole, the consciousness of our planet, things being thrown into the dustbin bin.
They are holding the reality in their hands because people listen to the media and whatever they choose to focus on is what we think is happening. There's lots of things to focus on, and they don't focus on the things usually that are really important. They're focused on the things that are based on fear most of the time, and they keep the fear going. It isn't just about good news. It's about news that is significant and that actually changes the world.
There's more to life than towing the corporate line. And that their responsibility is to all of the future generations as well, you know, that they've got the voice that can make a difference. That they've got a medium which is powerful enough to reach people in their homes. And so it's like absolutely essential that the truth be revealed. Not a small percentage of people with corporate gains that only get their message across for the dollar. There's much more going on than that.
To the media, I would say you have a huge responsibility. We're in the global age now, both on the internet and in many, many other ways. You know, you can also be leaders, you can be pioneers in taking us forward, not running around the old paradigm of fragmentation and the lack of meaning, but the new paradigm that's emerging. You guys want the scoop, this is the scoop, this is the shift, be pioneers of it.
The responsibility that you have is grand. I would ask that you begin to take that responsibility and the steps forward to bringing the truth, not with those that want to hear and to bring the fear to the people, but bring the life, the purity, the newness, the renewal, you know, the information that is going to inspire and lift the people, lift them from the states of consciousness and the places we're at today to a higher place. So I give that encouragement and strength that you utilize the films, the technology, the TVs to go reach the world and expound these messages of the wisdom keepers, the elders, the youth that are coming to you.
It's the people running the media companies who set the tone. You folks have a responsibility. You've abrogated your responsibility. You're feeding junk to a world that will consume junk. But junk is leading us the wrong way. It's time for you to be leaders who put out food for the mind that is real and balanced and based on truth. It's time for you to take responsibility, because that's where you're failing.
Everything is run by corporations, unfortunately. We used to feel that all the news that was fit to print, well, now it's like all the news is print to fit. So you have to look at the whole story of what's going on with the media, with the huge corporations. There's only, from what I've heard, just a few corporations, and those few corporations send the messages out about everything that's happening on the planet. There are some publications that are not mainstream publications that have some of the real news. The real news should be about how great it is to see a crippled person being healed and being able to walk again. But we never hear about that. We hear just about another car bomb in Iraq, and 75 people were killed.
Well, it's the world's media is really controlled by corporations. And corporations are having a vested interest in holding the world and the economy in a certain way. And again, I would say the same thing to them. Your time is running out. And the world is changing and evolving. And the structure that you are coveting and protecting through the lies and manipulation of your media has got to change. Because the truth is coming out, and it's going to come out, and at some point, the people will take over, and it will change in a way that is much more perhaps destructive than it needs to be.
To those individuals within the media that are actually trying to make a difference, that are trying to tell the truth to the best of their abilities, but they're stuck within a system that is not interested and not open, it is about pushing the boundaries wherever you can. It's about figuring out where you can cross those boundaries and where you can venture into new realms. And it's about convincing your editors of the importance of these issues. And unfortunately, that does fall on your shoulders. And sometimes it's beyond your capabilities because they are being controlled by masters above them who are not interested either. So you just have to find ways of trying to push up against those boundaries wherever you can in the right ways. It's about exploring. And I encourage you to try to explore to the best of your abilities, because that's the whole reason why you got into media ultimately in the first place, was to actually tell a story.
The celebrity culture can only be because empty people want to look at others. It's time for people to look at themselves. It's their own heart. It's their own inner celebrity. It's the filling of the self. That's what's going to help people to stand. Difficult times are coming. These difficult times cannot be avoided. They've been earned by our actions, by our desecration of the mother. It's time to turn away from outer celebrity to inner celebrity.
You have a lot of power. Use it to change the world. Use it to give the voiceless a voice. It is possible. It is possible. Because unless the voice of the people is heard, then nothing is changing us. Nothing is changing now. So, to the media of the world, you have the power. You've been placed in an awesome position to change the world. You're not there for nothing. Listen to the people. Give them voice. Let their voices be heard.
I would say the media needs to tell the truth. They need to forget about money. They need to forget about upward mobility. And they need to know that the God gave them their gift of voice, their gift of media, for the benefit of mankind, not for the abuse of mankind, and not to fill their pockets, but to transmit and allow the fact that one is all and all is one become a reality.
I'm not saying the negative things that have happened should not be reported, but I think we are too dedicated to the negative. When you're too dedicated to the negative, you'll breed negative, especially for the young in the world. Right now, if they read the newspapers and the way the media is reporting the world, I think the youth will become despondent and frustrated that there is no way to live well on this planet. We should not create that hopelessness in the new generation of people. It's very important. The beauty of the world, the beauty of the humanity, the goodness of the humanity, the gentleness of the humanity, the love of the humanity, the compassion of the humanity should also find expression in the media, so that there is hope for the youth, and that becomes the ideal, not the violence and the negative aspects of life. So media has a tremendous responsibility because they can shape and mold this world in so many ways. Their influence on people is so very strong. So they need to constantly understand that it's an extremely responsible position, and I hope they dispense that with responsibility and sense.
If you put negative stuff into a system, you get negative stuff coming out the other end. If you put positive stuff in, you get positive stuff coming out the other end. And just as if you spend all your time watching the news, reading the papers, and getting worried about what you read, so you find yourself slowly sinking under a kind of weight of negative energy. So in the reverse sense, if you spend your time connecting to the powerful, the positive, the beautiful, you feel yourself joyful and more capable. And this is the thing, this isn't escapism, this is reality, really. You're more capable of being of help to other people, you're more empowered to do meaningful and interesting things. And the reality is, so many people feel this way. This isn't just some kooky New Age opinion. This is the opinion of most of the people that I know, certainly most of the people that I connect with, and I believe very many people around the world. And they're just bored with the same old stuff.
If I change the way of how I speak and think, what kind of TV programs I watch, or if I watch any TV at all, what kind of music I listen to, with what kind of people I meet, how I structure my daily life, how I make my living. If I structure my own way of being ecologically aware, of being spiritually active, of looking for meaning and purpose, then this will reverberate without me doing anything specific, and then we will actually create a network. We are already in the middle of creating a network, a grid, a web of conscious people, of energy communication lines.
Turn down the volume. Now what's happening is that everything is too loud. Rock music is too loud, radios are played too loud, TVs are too loud, the background music is too loud. Loud music, it sets a vibration in the field, and what they're doing is they're creating a field of high vibration. Once a person gets used to being in this vibratory field, they seek it out and they become almost addicted to it. So they're looking for, where can I get that feeling? And it's so deep within them, they don't even know what the feeling is. It isn't a specific high or a specific moment. It's just feeling comfortable. And they're used to being comfortable in high intensity. So they seek out high intensity just to be comfortable. It's all unconscious. And if they would cut down the volume and cut down the violence a little bit, things would begin to change.
If I would have 30 seconds to speak to the heads of the media worldwide, I would put this question to them. How, at the end of your days, when you look into the mirror, will you look upon what you have caused to be telecast or printed? Check with your own conscience, with your consciousness and your conscience. What is appropriate? What is helpful? What is your responsibility to your own self? Think about your wife or your husband, about your children, about your mother and your father, your grandparents and your grandchildren. What do you want that your dearly beloved ones are seeing and reading and hearing? And then you will make the choice which is right.
It's simple. It's the way the brain works. If you have a story about something, the brain will pull up everything from the past and the present to support that story. So if you want to tell us about all the bad news, then we're just going to keep on recreating. Is that really what you want? Is it really more important for you to sell more and more papers, or to sell your news program to more and more people? So is that actually what your creativity is about? Is that what you went through all those years of training to deliver to this world? Or are you actually, can you open your eyes? Can you open your eyes and see that every single day there's a billion acts of kindness and creativity going on in this world? And actually people do want to hear about it. People are interested in it. And the more you tell it, the more interested they will become. And you do have a responsibility for that, but you do not create my reality.
So either you continue to propagate a level of awareness, a mindset and a level of awareness into the human psyche, imposing it into the human psyche via our media, a notion that we are no good, that we need mentoring, that we need guiding, that we are little children, that we are hopeless and helpless, that we are worthless, that we are no good, or you're going to start actually celebrating human sovereignty and begin to propagate the notion that we are sovereign beings, that we are eternal beings, infinite beings, and it is time now for all of us to begin to awaken, and I feel that media can play an enormous role in that.
I want to thank all of you for following your vision, for the mission that you have in this world is very important. In many, many ways, the way in which you relate, even in the structure of saying, this is a new way of filming, using your intuition, using your spirit, and then using this powerful media that has been so abused, and using the technology for transforming. So from my heart, I wanna thank you and everyone that's around you and that's supporting this endeavor, and not only wish, I know that your work is gonna be reaching many, many hearts and planting many seeds. And I wish to you light and strength. It's an honor to be in your presence. And I thank the Creator for your existence.
There's something out there that wants to happen on Earth, and all of us can feel it coming, and we want to be part of it. And that being, that thing that wants to be born on Earth, would love to receive our gifts. And when we bow into service to this being, then it creates opportunities. The vision itself creates the opportunities for us to give our gifts.
That's the message that we're spreading now. That in order for people to be healthy, you have to have a cosmovision. You have to know that we're part of a solar system, we're part of a star system, we're part of a galaxy, we're part of a universe. And as being part of that endows us with the power of creation.
We're taught these reality creation techniques. You start by creating the vision, but then you never really quite believe it, that it's actually going to happen. I think it's much more powerful to receive the vision and then to step into service to that vision.
If you stir up what is happening in the human heart right now, something absolutely new can happen tomorrow. So instead of creating this possibility, if we predict that this is what is going to happen, I think it's an insult to humanity. Nobody should predict what is going to happen. Everybody should decide what should happen and strive to make that happen.
My vision of the future is a beautiful future ahead, because my sense, having looked and being on a search all my life since I turned into an adult person, and having had visions of communities where we would live without money, where we would live in cultural, spiritual harmony and brother and sisterhood, I really feel that this is possible, and it has been possible already. It's just a matter of connecting with the right spiritual impulses and the right community that we can create between people in the future. And I know that many prophets, I've read the Mayan prophecies, I've read Egyptian prophecies. Steiner himself is talking about the new humanity that's coming about this new century with these new souls coming and our new opening of the heart and the new vibrational levels that we are reaching. That through that we will see that, as the Mayans call it, we will enter into a golden age.
My grandest vision of the future is, first of all, we cannot go forward as a humanity as long as there's war. And most wars currently are based in ego, in egoic structures of the people. And religion, unfortunately, organized religion, has become part of the ego structure of people.
For me, facing the future is more about accepting what the future will be and honouring that. There is a mystery unfolding. If I try to put in place something that isn't meant to be there, I'm not serving. So for me to visualise what I might want is based on my own ego. I want the vision of a new world to be whatever it needs to be.
And I don't see necessarily a world without money. I see money changing in its nature so that it's no longer based on interest-bearing debt. But I also see a shrinkage of the money realm, not its disappearance, but a shrinkage of the money realm and the emergence of other ways of sharing, other ways of circulating wealth. And we're already seeing it, on the internet, couch surfing, open source software, just neighborhood sharing things, some on the internet, some not. But people find that their lives are enriched when they share more, when they give more. If I give you something, then you feel like you kind of want to give something back, right? We have a tie. But if I sell you something, then we're done. I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. It's done. No bond is created. No tie is created. And we're living now in an atomized society where people don't have ties to each other. And we want to reforge those ties and have community again.
And what I see is there's an economist called Richard Douthright who was talking about the fact that in an economic system, one of the best things we could do is create a dual or triple currency model, where you have a local currency that is very much about local exchange. You have a national currency, which is about exchange with other places and other regions in your country. And then you have an international exchange methodology, so you can buy and sell things around the world. So we still keep trade, because the last thing in the world we ever want to do is become isolationists, internalized, because that's where you get ignorance, that's where you get racism, that's where you get intolerance and xenophobia.
When you can create something that has a pull strategy to it, where there isn't a corporate drive behind it that really needs to push this quarter's sales, then the whole table turns, and you can really focus on just creating the best product and refining it for attaining that goal rather than the short-time gains of quarterly or annual profits. So that's really the ideal, is then you get to focus on the type of product. And personally, those types of products are the ones that bring the most social benefit, wellness to people. The difference between it not being sick in 12 months and it being sick now is a choice. That's all it is. There's plenty of resources and plenty of leaders, if they'll sit down with each other, to take this system, to take our world and move it into a true state of heaven, a heavenly state. Sounds good. Actually, the state of heaven. I'd live there.
My grandest, most beautiful vision is where no child, whether they have a parent or not, sleeps without food or sleeps on the streets. Is molested by an adult, is sold to any kind of slavery. It is a world where no woman experiences any violence just because they are a woman, or any man experiences any violation just because they are a man. It's a world where each one of us recognizes the humanity in the other. And recognize that I am because you are. And that we are who we are because of others. That we will never make it alone. We will always make it when we do it together as a community. Looking at our world as a gift that we've been given to take care of, so that everyone and everything in it thrives with integrity, with respect, with love.
My view of the future is a human scale community where all the different aspects of life, from the technology to and the energy systems to the politics, the art, the food growing, the music, the meditation, the yoga, the chanting, are within walking distance, are in a human scale setting where we can all participate at all ages, from infants to great-grandparents, in all of those activities.
I think this emerging vision of integral reality changes our entire worldview, because what it says is that I'm no longer separate from anyone else. We're no longer separate from each other. At the most profound level, we are ultimately one. So if I hurt someone, I'm hurting myself. We're also moving to a perception that rather than seeing is believing, believing is seeing. What we believe, what our worldview is, becomes our realities, whether it's on our physical bodily scale or whether it's the entire experience of what we call reality.
My vision for a perfect world in, say, 7 years' time will be a cooperative society where businesses, environment, human beings, spirituality, ecology are all working together. That's my vision. It has to be that way, that everybody comes from a much more holistic perspective. The only way that businesses will go along that lines is when they're forced to do so. And I see those days coming when all areas, politicians as well, have got to start thinking in a more holistic way if they want the support of the general public. And I am sad to say that I do think there's going to be more disasters with the environment that are going to make people think a different way. It is extremely ironic that at the very point when consciousness is emerging in society, we are also as near as we've ever been to destroying the planet, destroying society, destroying human life, animal life. And my vision truly is for a cooperative world.
If trouble comes and you have no plan, then you just have a mess and you have people running around wondering what to do. So having a vision of how to move from the systems now, step by step, to something else, building up a vision of a timeline. What will it look like in 20 years' time? What will it sound like with a community that uses 80% less fossil fuels than we have now? What will it feel like? What will it smell like? What will it look like? What will it taste like? And have to start to imagine those things. But clearly what we're moving into is an age of transformation of consciousness such as we have never experienced, that is only there recorded of the great times and the myths of the past, recorded in the
golden ages many, many thousands of years in the past. So our points of reference to how to imagine what a golden age would look like are very misty and very hard for us to imagine.
I'm not really afraid of global disaster, as funny as that seems, because of our inherent capacity to create. That as soon as we choose to fully align ourselves, and it's difficult to go beyond the programming that says that we're not that. You know, I'm still struggling with that in my own being, but there's a part of me that knows it. There's a part of me that has absolute faith that I can do it, and so can you. And that we've got this infinite potential to create at will and manifest in the three-dimensional realms a perfect reality.
The vision that most inspires me is a vision of a future where the veil is taken away without the onset of lunacy. At the moment, for reasons best known to the cosmos, we are protected from an understanding of who we were before we came here, who we will be when we go, and where everybody else that used to be here and has gone now has gone to. And we don't get to pierce that veil or to go through it. And yet it would be a lovely thing if we could somehow break through that and make contact with both our ancestors and the people who are still to come, if we could recognize the timeless within ourselves, and we could raise ourselves and our game to the point where we recognize our own individual cosmic inheritance.
It is very important to understand the laws that govern manifested existence. One of these laws is like attracts like, and the law of attraction is vital in what we envisage. If you have a vision of a particular way that you want to unfold in your life, then you create with your mind the outer linings, which then the spiritual energy of your own soul can pour into them and make it manifest and materialize it.
So quantum physics has an explanation for how you can go in a very deep place in consciousness and actually affect something that's outside of yourself, because it's all looped together at a very deep level and subtle energy. So what happened in Tibet, for instance, and in Egypt was a different framework for how to describe what happened, but essentially the same thing, where they could go inside and affect something outside. And it's just the nature of consciousness and sound. In the Hindu tradition, for instance, in yoga, it's said that Brahma and his consort Saraswati reside in the throat chakra. And this is the creative force. And it's through sound that we create. And we can create with language. Right now I'm speaking English, and the person listening is making sense of this, hopefully. But they're doing that through the power of sound. Sound can also be used as a pure vehicle without language to affect things at a very deep, fundamental level, not only in the matter within our bodies, our neurophysiology. That's very clear in the sciences right now. It can also affect things outside our body. And that is a whole level of exploration that's taking place in the paranormal and the interface between personal psychology and personal consciousness and quantum physics.
And if we acknowledge that our vision and our dream is to serve the whole and not just the individual separated part, then our visions would be good, beautiful, and true, and they will manifest the great creativity that the human consciousness can reveal in our world.
So my future vision is that we will recognize and remember all of this incredible ancient wisdom and bring that into a modern remembering or contextualized future of the beginnings of which we're already seeing with things like the permaculture movement and movements where there's online, you know, anti-social media campaigns where people are starting to connect in really interesting and unique ways, which are just the forebearers of the true communities that we know are possible on Earth when we're not living in times of imagined scarcity. So we're going to enter a time of abundance where there will be true gifted economies and sharing that will enable a restoration of ecosystemic magnitude unheard of before.
My vision of the future is one in which our energy source comes from the heavens, not from the earth. That we tap into this unlimited, completely clean, completely free energy source that is all around us.
And I feel very solid about the future. I feel like we're well cared for. We're held. All of our religions have that picture of sacred hands holding us. And when I stop knowing the answer, I feel the arms of spirit around me, holding me and embracing me. And that's a really profound experience.
What's happening with the future is completely unknown. There is so much happening so fast. We're in unprecedented times of exponential growth. I think that the science, the merger of this indigenous and the science, to me is the cutting edge. I feel that it's the ancient and the modern that are now coming together. And if we can do that with balance, with heart, then I feel that there could be amazing, amazing leaps in our evolution as a species.
To really know what community is in the heart, it's about sharing in the heart. And if we can do that with the people in our lives, it can feed that part anyway. But I do think eventually it is going to be the way forward, more communities, more cooperation.
We all have more than we need right now. We have far more than we need when it comes to food, clothing, entertainment, technology, products. Most people have houses that are too big for themselves, that they don't need. And where I originally come from in Canada, the houses are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And over the last 15 years, the average Canadian house has grown by around 35%, while the average Canadian family has shrunk by around 20%. So you've got people living in bigger houses with less people. This is just stupidity. It's hedonism, it's ridiculous, and it's a waste of everything. You have to heat and power these buildings, you have to clean these buildings, you have to maintain these buildings, but they're not being needed.
I think in the next 20 to 30 years, we have got to start to understand that we've all become addicted to something called standard of living. And that the politicians have been, through no fault of their own, chucking out, regurgitating this mantra over and over again. There'll be an increase in the standard of living. We've had a wonderful increase in the standard of living over the last 20 or 30 years. What we have lost as a result of that is quality of life. And we can only have quality of life back if we realize how addicted we've been to standard of living. And the two things are completely different. You can have nothing and have the most wonderful quality of life. You can have the highest standard of living on the planet and be completely miserable. Most wealthy people are. So we need to look at that, and we need to start to say, how much do I need? How much is enough? We're all addicted. We've become addicted in the West to this notion of more. You can have more. You've got more money, you can have more money. You've got more food, have more food. Go large. We've now got to step back and say, what is enough for me to live life in its fullness? Not to exist, but to separate myself off from the addictions of more.
Follow your heart, trust, surrender. We're in auspicious times. It's intense, and it's so important now to just feel your way through life, to follow the synchronicity, follow the signs, be open to the magic that is here.
So that was Messages from the Heart. It's a beautiful compilation of all of the wisdom from all of those different people. And what a great idea you had to ask those questions all the way through, because it's, it just makes amazing content. Thank you again. If we could give you a microphone and you could speak a message to the world, what would it be?
That presence of this being, you the being, the silhouette, you embody this divine creator source. In doing so, you must take into consideration the essence of the whole, the Mother Earth, Father Sky, all of this. And as you do so, address all those that are the creations of divine source. And knowing that each one is going to contribute beautifully within the well-being and the continued existence of Mother Earth and all of its children.
Oh, it's overwhelming, isn't it? All this information and the sleep deprivation.
Riding that horse, Ted. Ride that horse.
We're almost there. I hope you're enjoying it. And what I found fascinating looking at the stats is that often with these docuseries, the viewing rates tend to drop down, and ours have stayed level the whole way through, which is telling me that you guys are really enjoying the content. So thank you for staying with us. And again, if you'd like to support us, there is that way of getting yourself either the physical or the digital package. We've put in the 3 payment plans, but Alison and Samesh, who have been handling so much of the support calls and the emails, and gratitude to those guys because they are working their socks off. They're saying we're often being asked for a donate button. Now, I hadn't